So good afternoon, everyone. We are experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties. I would just like to know, can in the chat, if everyone, I believe chat should be open, but just want to make sure, am I coming in staticky? Is the sound good? We want to make sure that's the difficulties we were having earlier in terms of audio. Sound is good. Okay. All right. That's what we want to know. All right. Thank you so much. Like I said, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Franscesco Calebrese. I am a financial aid specialist here at CUNY Brooklyn College. I'm going to be we're going to go through a PowerPoint of financial aid, and then we're going to be doing a question and answer at the end. So we're going to hold questions until the end. We'll use chat probably for the questions. Nava is having some audio difficulty as well, so I am waiting to see for her to come back in. We're going to admit a few more people really quick. Make sure we have this in order. Let me get this on the other screen. So as much as I see when people are coming in, that we can go ahead and admit people as they are coming in. Okay. In the meantime, we are going to get started. Let me just take care of one more thing. I just want to get the chat pulled up to the side as well so I can see everything coming in. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, so thank you for everyone for having patience in regards to this matter. So like I said, my name is Franscesco Calebrese, a financial aid specialist here at CUNY Brooklyn College. We're going to go over financial aid. We're going to go over the bare bones of it. We're going to go a little bit into some detail of it. And then, of course, at the end, when we're doing questions and answers, you're more than welcome to ask questions. Please be mindful that if you are asking questions that are very specific towards you, I may not be able to go into too much detail because we usually handle that privately, but we can do general questions, things along those lines. And I see that there are things that need to be, got a few more people coming in. If there are things that maybe we need to look into possibly doing, I'm getting some issues with my mouse. Okay, there we go. If there are issues, something that happens to be done, I can put my email in the chat and you can always send me an email after this meeting. If you do have a financial advisor, I would be probably forwarding the email off to a financial advisor to take a look at. But in the meantime, if we need to go over things, we can do that. So let's take a look here. Let's make sure. Okay. So this is a picture of CUNY Brooklyn College. We're going to talk about financial aid. That is the West Quad building. That is pretty much where financial aid is located when we are on campus. Obviously, right now with COVID-19, the financial aid office is working from home. We are working remotely. We are still working the normal hours that school is open for, but we're working remotely. And there is some talk that we would be on campus starting the week of I believe it got pushed back. I think it was supposed to be the week of the 16th, but it looks like they have, actually, no, it was pushed back from the 2nd to the 16th, but of course things are changing. So we may be back on campus soon, but in a staggered rotational schedule, just to let everyone know. But keep an eye on the president's emails. That's how we're going to be finding out about things in terms of being on campus. Let me move the camera here so I can see everything. All right. Okay. So financial aid, it's money that's awarded to a student from an entity to help pay for college. The awards aids with direct and indirect expenses within the cost of education. So what it means by entity, so financial aid for the most part is federal aid. That is, you do your FAFSA, so that is federal aid, so it's coming from the federal government. There's also, we live in New York. If you're a New York State resident, that other entity can be the state, New York State. You would just need to do your HESC application. And then other entities would be like third-party lenders. Third-party lenders such as like private loan lenders, such as like Sallie Mae, Discover, Citizens Bank. There are a lot of those. Or also your employer. That can also be considered not really as a form of financial aid, but can be used for assistance to take care of your tuition. Nava is here, so I just want to go ahead and make her the co-host really quick. Just get that done. Okay, so the cost of attendance, that's also known as the COA. So if you're speaking to people in financial aid, sometimes we use our jargon a little bit. We use acronyms, but it's cost of attendance and then the expected family contribution. So the COA and the EFC. So the COA, the cost of attendance, is the cost to attend school for a specific period of time. So a lot of the times when you're looking at your account, you might see that you have like a cost of attendance and it might say something like $20,000 or it might say 30 or 40, depending on the situation in regards to your FAFSA, if you're an undergraduate or a graduate student living away from home, living at home. But that is a budget based on the amount that you can receive in financial aid awards, scholarships, things along those lines. So it's not how much you're going to receive. It's not how much it's going to cost to attend. It's a budget based on like how much it may cost. So how much it may cost so that in terms of if you needed awards, how much you can receive. So that would be direct costs such as like tuitions and fees, and then indirect costs such as like transportation, meals, books, supplies, miscellaneous. The EFC is a number that is derived by completing the free application for federal student aid, also known as FAFSA. And it's a formula that's established by Congress. So a lot of times when students are saying, hey, my EFC, why is it that number? It's based on your FAFSA. The school itself, we are not calculating your EFC. That is coming from the FAFSA to us. And that EFC is going to play a role in terms of federal aid eligibility. So the COA, cost of attendance, minus the EFC is equal to the financial need. And this determines how much need-based financial aid a student can be awarded. So that would be things along the lines of like the federal Pell Grant or subsidized loans. Those are need-based. So even if your EFC is higher than your COA, you can still receive unsubsidized loans or private loans. Your EFC does not play a role in the eligibility for those awards. So eligibility for federal aid and most state aid as well is going to be that you be a U.S. citizen or a national, natives of American Samoa or Swains Island. The eligible non-citizen, which means you would have to have a U.S. resident with an alien registration card, a conditional permanent resident, I-551C, that would be the document you would need to provide to us if necessary, a holder of an I-94 from the Department of Homeland Security showing that you're either a refugee, asylum granted, parolee, victim of human trafficking. So the documentation, you would have that under I-94. This is only going to be necessary to provide to the school if your FAFSA comes to us and that has been determined that like that kind of documentation needs to be submitted to us. Also in the case, sometimes U.S. citizens have to submit documentation to us as well. So that documentation is only needed to be submitted to the school if it does appear on your to-do list. The FAFSA will dictate that. And then we as a school, we will be requesting it, and then it would be up to you to submit the documentation. As of right now, with all of us being remote, we have been working a year and a half now at this point, almost. Was March? It's July. So 16 months we've been doing remote, and we've been doing everything electronically, and everything is secure. So these documentations, they're secure. We have a third-party lender, not third-party lender, but a third-party organization that does assist with us to be able to do remote. And so our school, Brooklyn College, we were able to go remote very easily and very sufficiently and efficiently very quickly. Oh, what did I do? Nope. Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about the FAFSA. So if you haven't done your FAFSA yet, right now, the FAFSA that is for this upcoming academic year, so it would be for the current summer, upcoming fall, and the upcoming spring semester, that the summer to spring is an academic year. So in this case, it would be the 2021 to 2022. That is the academic year that we are currently in. The FAFSA is free. I always have to kind of like say this because there's some businesses and individuals out there that will say that they will help you do your FAFSA, but it's at a cost. So that's illegal. If you ever come across that, don't do it. Don't pay anyone to do your FAFSA. It's a free application. You should never be paying to have that be done. So how FAFSAs work is that you would need you and possibly your parents, if you're a dependent student, you need your federal taxes from 2 years prior. That would be the year 2019. The FAFSA does allow you to use the IRS data retrieval tool. So we usually recommend use a data retrieval tool. What happens is that your information, if you have filed taxes or your parents have filed taxes, that information is already in the IRS database. So when you use the IRS data retrieval tool, it's going to take that information directly from the IRS and it's going to put it on the FAFSA. It's going to make it very clean, and that if you end up being selected for like verification or additional documentations that need to be submitted, it's, we have the IRS data retrieval tool, so we usually aren't going to be asking for your tax returns unless, of course, there are other things that do indicate that we maybe have like an amended tax return or something along those lines. We usually recommend that when you're doing it, if you're not going to use the data retrieval tool, have the tax returns for 2019, have the corresponding W-2s, and year-end income earning statements for both students and parents. You're a dependent student if you're under the age of 24, not married, you don't have any children, don't have any dependents, haven't served in any sort of armed service, you are still a dependent student. Even if you are not living at home, even if you are paying your own bills, filing your own taxes, if you don't meet any of those criteria that I just mentioned, you're a dependent student, therefore your parents' information is needed on your FAFSA. If you're an independent student at 24 or older, or you are married, or you have children, you have dependents, you have served in some form of armed service, then you're independent, you do not need your parents' information on the FAFSA. Every year, the FAFSA becomes available on October 1st. So ignore that 2017 part. I forgot to remove that. But every year on October 1st, that's when the new FAFSA becomes available. So right now, the 2021-2022, it's available. It's been available since October 1st of 2020. For next year's FAFSA, the 2022-2023, which is for the next summer, and summer 2022, fall 2022, spring 2023, that will become available on October 1st, and it will be based off of 2020 tax information. So we do have a priority deadline that we do want your FAFSA to be submitted in by May 1st. It doesn't mean that you can't apply, since if you haven't applied yet, it doesn't mean that you're just out of luck. It's not the case. You can still go ahead and do your FAFSA as of right now. It just means that you may miss out on some finite campus-based aid, like federal work study, and we can't guarantee that your aid is going to be processed and reflecting on your bill by the first fall tuition due date. You do have to apply every single year. So it's not a one-time application and that's it. You have to apply every year. So even if you're taking out federal loans, you still have to do your FAFSA and you have to do it every single year. So we're going to talk about the application process now. This is a picture of the West Quad building, the Enrollment Service Center. I don't know how things are going to be once we go back on campus, but that is a place that we do have some of our financial aid representatives available for general questions. Pre-application prep work. I kind of went over this a little bit, but this is the documentation you're going to need. The federal tax return form regarding for your FAFSA application, the W-2 forms. If you're a veteran, non-education benefit records, child support received, workers' compensation, bank statements. If you have interest being gathered off of income that's in the bank, you would need those bank statements, such as I believe it's a 1099. Current business and investment mortgage information, business farm records, stocks, bonds, or other investment records. If you have any sort of assets or investments, you will need to have that paperwork available when you are doing your FAFSA if you're not going to be using the data retrieval tool. If you are an eligible non-citizen, then you will need to have your alien registration or permanent resident card. And also, of course, if you have a social security number, you would want to have your card if you have of course, you may not need to have it if you just have your social security number memorized. Okay, the FAFSA is available at this website, fsa.eed.gov. You can also do fafsa.ed.gov. You can go to studentaid.gov. All that website will encompass everything that's related to federal aid. Okay. So you're going to complete the FAFSA form as soon as possible. So if you haven't done it yet, I'm going to recommend you do it as soon as possible, especially if you're trying to start in the upcoming fall semester. FAFSAs, like I said, we roll out on October 1st. 2021, FAFSA became available last October. Schools outside of CUNY, if you're not planning on attending CUNY, they may have different deadlines. So obviously reach out to other institutions. Even if it's another CUNY school, make sure you speak with the financial aid officer regarding their deadlines. When you do your FAFSA, it takes about 7 business days for us to receive it. So if you haven't done your FAFSA yet and you do it today, we're still not going to be able to see it for 7 business days. Thus, meaning probably next Friday is when probably be the earliest that it would become available. We're currently closed on Friday due to summer hours, so we wouldn't be able to take a look at this until Monday. Make sure I have my date right. It would probably be Monday, the August 8th. I believe it's the 8th, or it's the 9th. I believe it's the 9th. That would be the earliest you'd be able to speak to somebody in regards to your FAFSA. But so again, if you haven't done it, you want to do it as soon as possible because we need a FAFSA if you're going to be seeing what kind of financial aid you're eligible for. Expect some feedback within 1 week, 7 business days upon completion of the FAFSA. The student will get a student aid report, also known as a SAR, via their email. It's about 3 to 4 weeks for paper submission. If you're mailing in your documents, it's going to take a little bit longer. The SAR is a summary of all the information reported on the FAFSA, and you could check it carefully for any mistakes. It's available on the FAFSA website after you've done it. That's where you can go on there and you can look at it, a digital copy of it as well, in case for some odd reason, if you didn't get an email, that's where you would go to take care of that. It's also going to provide the EFC and comments on what was reviewed, and it may also instruct you to complete additional follow-up. Follow-up. Read the SAR for instructions. You may be selected for a random process called verification. We'll talk about that a little bit later. If any data seems to be incorrect, the student may submit changes to your application via the web. It's very important that after your FAFSA is done, like I said, it takes about 7 business days, but keep an eye on your to-do list on your CUNY First Student Service Center. That to-do list is going to let you know if something is required for you to submit to the school, or even not just with financial aid, Bursar may put something on there. Your department may put something on there. It's important to check your to-do list. As I always say, you're going to have a BC mail. You should be checking it at least once a week on a regular basis. But honestly, during the summer, I usually recommend checking it twice a week. There are certain departments that are, even if you forward it to go to like a preferred, like a Gmail, a Hotmail, Yahoo, AOL, anything along those lines, it may not actually forward it to it because we know your school email is secure. So certain departments it won't forward. It also may go into your spam. So it is still best to check your BC mail. Even if you check your regular mail every day, I would still recommend probably checking your BC mail. Probably, if to be honest, I would go Monday or Tuesdays. On your Student Service Center, you can also accept financial aid awards such as federal work study. You can view any outstanding to-do list items such as like verification or confirming citizenship. You can view any of your pending financial aid awards. You can view financial aid disbursement and payment dates. You can also apply for a federal direct loan. There is a direct loan application on the CUNY First Student Service Center, but we do recommend to use our dynamic form version of it, which is available on the Brooklyn College website, brooklyn.cuny.edu, on the financial aid forms page. You can also make an appointment by using your BC Web Central to speak with a financial aid advisor. We are also available via Zoom Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays each week from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. At this point, it is moving forward probably for the rest of at least this calendar year. I don't know how it's going to proceed for the spring semester, but we are available via Zoom. And that is a great way to try if you're not able to get an appointment, because appointments do book rather quickly. Emails, if you're sending an email to a financial advisor, it may take up to 3 business days to get a response because our emails are pretty flooded right now, and we're doing our best to respond in a timely fashion. But the virtual Zoom office is available each week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's available, and I would recommend using that. Also, our website also does include the financial aid guide regarding if you're a transfer student. This is a little bit of things have kind of changed a little bit in regards to verification. But normally what's happened the entire time I've been in financial aid for 10 years at this point is that sometimes your FAFSA can be selected for a random process referred to as verification. Verification usually results in you having to fill out a worksheet and then also submit tax return documentation if you didn't use a data retrieval tool to the school, so that if we need it, we would review it, and if corrections need to be made to the FAFSA based on those documents, we would do so. We recently just received word from the DOE that they are waiving verification for this upcoming academic year. How we're proceeding after that, we're still waiting on guidance from our central and OSFA office to see how we're going to do it. At this point, let's say if you've already done your FAFSA and you've already submitted a verification at this point, we would be completing it because it was already submitted before we received the guidance from the DOE about waiving it. If your FAFSA had verification and you hadn't submitted your documents, at this point, it has been waived. But what's happening is we are reviewing each FAFSA. And if we're seeing conflicting information, we will be contacting via email to possibly get some clarification, maybe have some documents submitted to see if we possibly need to make any changes to your FAFSA. So it is important, like I said earlier, keep an eye on your BC mail because that is how we are going to be contacting you. You can use your preferred, but I would still recommend checking your BC mail at least once, twice a week. I would honestly be doing twice a week up until October. My humble opinion, that's what I would do. So the section about verification right now, I'm not going to go too much into detail about it because, again, if you have, as of right now, it's waived. So if you've already been requested for the documentation, if there's anything needed, you need to keep an eye on your email at this point. So if you've already submitted verification and you're seeing it maybe hasn't been completed or things along those lines, you can reach out using the virtual Zoom office, reach out to your financial advisor via email, look into making an appointment using your BC Web Central and the financial aid scheduling tool. Most importantly, keep an eye on your BC mail because if we're going to be requiring something from you, that is how we're going to be contacting you. Everything is submitted online. Like I said, everything is done remotely right now. We do have that availability on our Brooklyn College website. And again, at that bottom, it always says, keep an eye on your Brooklyn College email. So we're going to kind of skip over this because, again, like verification does take time. That's the biggest kind of thing. So if you have submitted your documentation, let's say if you just did it maybe like a week or, week 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, right now we're kind of sitting at around 6 to 8 weeks for processing because we have a very large amount of documentation being submitted to us. And at the end of the day, we are a relatively small office. So we are doing what we can to be able to get things done in a timely fashion. We have other programs we have to foresee that have a little bit more stricter deadline. So again, sometimes it is taking a little bit longer. There's nothing wrong with, of course, reaching out to the office to see if you have any questions regarding this matter. Notifications of award. So after the application data is received and any subsequent request for documentation, the financial aid office packages a student with their aid eligibility. A letter is created outlining the student's expected awards, and this notification is known as an award letter and is emailed to your preferred email until a Brooklyn College email is assigned to you. Once you have a Brooklyn College email, that's where this information is going to go. To speak on verification, because I oversaw one thing. V1 verification is the only thing that's currently being waived. So if you have V4 or V5, those documentations are still need to be submitted to the school. Our worksheets are available on the Brooklyn College website, and there are ways to be able to submit that electronically as well. And obviously, if you're requested for citizenship documents, you still have to submit in citizenship documents as well. Right now, V1 is the only thing that is currently sitting on a waived status. Once we have more guidance, we'll be contacting students to let them know how everything is going to be proceeding. So the awards that are available, grants, those are what we refer to as the quote unquote free money. This is money that you do not have to pay back if you are eligible for it and you receive it. It is money that is for you for educational purposes. And if there are any sort of like excess funds, your tuitions is, let's say it's about full-time students, roughly about $3,719.85. If your total Pell and TAP grant equals out to $4,500, your tuition is covered. All that excess funds then come to you. Then you can use it for books, transportation, however you see fit. There's also the New York State Excelsior Scholarship. So that is a separate application on the HESC website. As far as I know, it is still currently available. I believe the deadline is coming up in August. I will look that up at the end just to make sure we have that deadline. Excelsior is a 4-year program scholarship. Therefore, if you are coming back, if you've taken a break and you started maybe 3 years ago and you're coming back as a junior, you don't qualify for Excelsior. Excelsior is a 4-year program from when you start college until you end college. So it's 4 years, so that means they're requiring you to earn 30 credits every academic year. If you're not taking courses in the summer or the winter, it would be looking at you to be wanting to do at least 15 credits in the fall, 15 credits in the spring, earn those credits, declare your major when you're at 60 credits as a junior, and then the courses you're taking that they're going towards your degree bulletin. So that 4-year, when it ends, you're at 120 credits or so and you're graduating. Therefore, you can receive Excelsior to help cover for tuition cost. It doesn't cover the fees. Tuition is roughly about like $3,465 based on a full-time load for New York State residents, but there is roughly about a $255 in terms of fees. Excelsior is not going to pay for fees. Therefore, even if you're receiving Excelsior, if that's all you're receiving, there is still roughly about $255 that has to be covered each semester to cover for your fees. How Excelsior works as well is that it is a last resort award. Therefore, if you're receiving Pell and TAP and it covers your tuition in full, even if you're eligible for Excelsior, Excelsior is not going to go onto your account because it is used to cover for any sort of remaining tuition balance. Therefore, if your other grants, such as like I said, the Pell or the TAP, it's covering your tuition, it's not, you wouldn't be receiving Excelsior. Now, if you're receiving Pell and it's just for a total of $2,400, there's still an additional about $1,000 that needs to be taken into consideration, and that can be used to then cover the remaining costs from Excelsior. Excelsior, something off the top of my head that I can't remember in terms of Excelsior. Excelsior as well, what it is that it's that if you're receiving it for as long as you're receiving it, you're signing a contract with the state. Therefore, that is saying that when you graduate, you are going to be staying in New York for that amount of time. Now, there are some exceptions if you're going to grad school, and let's say you're going to grad school and maybe you're going to University of Michigan. So you would have to speak with the state, you're going to grad school, so they wouldn't, because the consequence would be, let's say if you get your undergraduate, you're not going to grad school, and then you move to Pennsylvania to start a job. Any Excelsior that you receive, since you're not staying in New York, is going to turn into an unsubsidized loan that you're going to owe back to the state. It's expected that if you're receiving Excelsior, you're going to be staying in New York for that amount of time to be a New York State resident, working, giving back to New York based on the scholarship that you did receive. Now, like I said, going back, if you got your grad school and you're going to University of Michigan, you need to speak with HESC, that would be the state, and they usually do give exceptions so that your Excelsior scholarship is not going to turn to a loan while you're working on your grad school, but it is expected that after you finish grad school, you come back to New York and you do stay in New York for whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 years that you were receiving Excelsior. You would need to stay in New York again, or you've risked the consequence of having that Excelsior scholarship turn into a loan that you owe back to the school. Nobody wants that. So there are loans as well. So normal loans are subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Subsidized loans, they don't accrue interest while you're in school, while unsubsidized loans, they do accrue interest while you're in school. It's between you and the loan lender if you choose to want to pay off your loans while you're in school, but you don't have to make any sort of payments until 6 months after you have graduated. The loan is not with the school, the loan is for school, so the loan is with your federal loan servicer provider. There are also Parent Plus loans. So for students who are dependent students, you can look into doing a Parent Plus loan. This is a government regulated loan that students' parents can take to fund up to the cost of attendance minus any sort of other aid. But it is a loan that is in your parents' name. It's their responsibility. So while it is for you, there's a credit check, there's a background check, it has to be approved. And at the end, your parents are paying back that loan. There are also private loans. We refer to this more as you would want to utilize this as a last resort. They're credit-based, they may require a cosigner or a guarantor, and they tend to have higher interest rates. So while subsidized and unsubsidized loans usually sit between 3 to 5% interest rate, private loans have more of an average of between 8 to 11%. Again, it's all different when you're applying. Sometimes I have seen lower. I've seen some cases where if students are paying their private loans off while they're attending, they tend to get a lower interest rate. But if you're going to wait until after graduation, the average is usually, again, 8 to 11%. So if you need help, there are financial aid student support services. Our website does have financial aid TV, which does do general aid questions. We have guides on there as well. And then, of course, we do have the virtual financial aid office, which is on Zoom. You have the BC Web Central to use the financial aid scheduling tool to make an appointment with a financial aid advisor. You can also reach out via email as well. But as always, I just usually ask to be patient in regards to that. If you send out an email on a Friday, we may not be responding to you until Wednesday because we don't work on the weekends. We're not checking our emails over the weekend. And so we're coming back on Friday. That is the first business day. So it's just important to recognize that you're looking at probably around 3 business days to be getting a response, especially during this time as we're leading up to the fall semester, where it is a very, very busy time of the year. When it's a little bit slower, once the fall semester does start, you're looking at probably more about 1 to 3 business days in terms of a response. But that does, if you're emailing at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night, you may get a response the following Wednesday, but it may not be at 9 a.m. because we may be looking at some emails that came a little bit earlier. Obviously, if you need help, every student gets signed a financial aid advisor if you have done your FAFSA. If you have not done your FAFSA, there is no financial aid advisor assigned to you. Essentially, though, if you do look at it, you're going to see my name on there. Because every student is essentially still assigned a financial aid advisor, but there's no financial aid that can be essentially awarded to you without a FAFSA. We can't determine any sort of eligibility without a FAFSA. But I will be the name that you see on there. You'll see my email. You can always reach out to me and say, hey, I did my FAFSA. How come I don't have a financial advisor yet? Maybe you just did your FAFSA. It takes 7 business days for it to arrive. After it arrives, it takes about another 7 business days for an advisor to be assigned to you. But in the meantime, you can always reach out. If you see my email on there, you can always reach out to me. We can go over a few things. The Enrollment Service Center, it is available at the West Quad building on campus, but currently right now, as I stated, it is suspended due to COVID-19. Financial aid, we have not been in the office since March 12th or 13th of 2020. At this point, we are expected, it is looking like we may be returning in a staggered schedule on the week of August 16th. But again, it is still up in the air. We were supposed to go back on the 2nd. They pushed it back by 2 weeks. So everything is kind of still being figured out in that regards. But emails, of course, will be going out from the president to notify students what we're looking at in terms of the campus reopening. You can call. What happens when you call is you're calling a financial aid service representative. These are people within the bursar's office. They can be of assistance. They know very general information about financial aid. So you can always speak to them, but I'm going to recommend that you try and use the Zoom that's available Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're trying to have an appointment or send an email to your financial aid advisor. But the phone number is there. If you do want to call, there are representatives available Monday through Thursday right now from 9 to 5. And then once we're done with the summer hours, it'll be Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You could schedule an appointment. We offer 15-minute phone appointments. This is what I refer to as the financial aid scheduling tool, which is on your BC Web Central. It can be used to speak with a financial advisor. While you have an assigned financial advisor, if you can speak with your assigned financial advisor, please do so. But let's say you have a question and you go onto the schedule and you go to try and make an appointment and you're not seeing, let's say I am your assigned financial advisor. You've done your FAFSA, I have been assigned to you. You go to check for appointments and you're not seeing that I'm available. Either I am fully booked, maybe I'm working on the virtual office, or with all my programs that I do oversee, I sometimes don't have appointment availability because I'm trying to make sure that my programs are done in a timely fashion. Sometimes that does occur throughout the year. But if you don't see appointments available, but you see an appointment available with one of my colleagues, Julio Riso, Santa Perez, Clorinda Lewis, if you see those available, please take that appointment. Any financial aid advisor can assist you. And if something does need to be forwarded to me, that advisor will, of course, contact me, let me know via email. And if I do need to reach out to you, or they'll let me know what you guys spoke about, things along those lines. So it's even if you're not seeing an appointment that is available with me specifically, if I'm your financial advisor, you can still speak with any available financial aid advisor. Like I said, the appointments are available using the financial aid scheduling tool, which is on your BC Web Central. Appointments are usually, they start becoming available on Monday and Tuesdays of each week for the following week. So let's say if you were trying to make an appointment for next week, most likely our appointment availability is already full, but you could check on this upcoming Monday and Tuesday to see for appointments that are available in the following week. This is why, of course, we are at this point still recommending that you use the virtual Zoom financial aid office hours, which I've spoken about probably a lot at this point, but it's from Tuesday to Thursday each week, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So there are a few things in regards to financial aid. We'll go over these things pretty quickly because I just want to make sure that there is time for questions. So while you're attending the college, you're eligible for financial aid, but you still have to meet what is referred to as satisfactory academic progress, sometimes known as SAP. Now, what SAP is that it's expecting for you to maintain a GPA of 2.0. This is for undergraduate students. If you're a graduate student here, you need to maintain a GPA of at least a 3.0. If you also need to earn at least 67% of the credits that you are attempting. Therefore, if you are taking, let's say throughout the academic year, you've taken 24 credits, 12 credits in the fall, 12 credits in the spring. We are expecting that you have obtained at least 16 of those credits. We need to see at least 67%. So if you have only earned, let's say, 14 of those credits, you withdrew, or maybe you failed courses, then you're not meeting what's referred to as satisfactory academic progress, and it can cause you to lose your federal aid eligibility. It doesn't mean that it's lost for good. We do have an appeal process, but it does mean that it does take longer for you to receive financial aid. Our SAP process doesn't start until around the time frame tuition is due. Therefore, it is probably in your best interest to talk to the bursar's office about paying out of pocket, or enrolling into a payment plan, because your SAP appeal, it's not a guarantee it's going to be approved. It's also, even if it does get approved, it's probably going to be approved after tuition is due, and we don't want your courses to be canceled due to non-payment. SAP appeals still require you to have a FAFSA on file. And if you're being told that you have to submit a SAP appeal for the upcoming spring semester, it does require you to also be enrolled. If you're going to be withdrawing from any of your courses, things happen. We understand that. But if you're going to withdraw, before you do so, we recommend that you try and speak with someone in the financial aid office to see how it may affect your financial aid. Withdrawing from one course usually doesn't have any sort of effect. That doesn't mean just do it. Just because I've said that here, I'm still going to recommend that you speak to a financial aid representative. And especially if you're going to be withdrawing from all of your courses. If you withdraw from all of your courses, especially depending on when that is done, you might fall into what is referred to as R2T4, also known as Return to Title IV. What that is Title IV is financial aid. That's the word that is used in amongst financial aid people, Title IV. Now, what happens though is that if you do a total withdrawal, you're only eligible for a percentage of the days that you've actually attended the semester. So and that's for federal aid. So this is Pell, this is federal Pell Grant, and these are federal loans. If you've only attended, let's say maybe a quarter of the semester, and you had financial aid being a full-time student, we have to send back 3/4 of those awards that you received. Therefore, and if your balance was covered, unfortunately, most likely you're going to end up having a balance owed to the school, especially if you got a refund. Any sort of excess funds, essentially you weren't eligible for them because you did a total withdrawal. So then you would owe a balance to the school. This is why we say before you do a withdrawal, speak to somebody in the financial aid office. Like I said, we have the virtual office that's available. It's available Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. We have appointments. Please do so. You can always send an email as well, but understand, like I said, you're looking at, at most roughly about 3 business days to get a response. So it's important to do a withdrawal. If you're going to withdraw, speak to somebody first. Because, once you withdraw, we can't change anything. We can't if you have a balance, we can't make that balance go away. We can't put financial aid awards back onto your account. You've withdrawn. That's why we say it's important to speak to us first. So I've already gone over SAP. This is here, but the other one that I didn't go over is maximum time frame. Maximum time frame is that if you have attempted 150% of the credits that you have required to graduate. Therefore, most undergraduate degrees require 120 credits to graduate. So if you have attempted 180 credits, you're now not meeting SAP. Our question is as to what's going on. Why is it that you've attempted 180 credits and you haven't gotten your first bachelor's degree? So we'll go to the next slide because I did go over that before I clicked into here. And so now we'll be doing questions and answers. I don't know if we want to do it by chat, or I think the best way to probably go is in chat. I don't know if Nava, I don't know, do you want to open up the microphone and let people talk, or do you want to have them put their questions in the chat box?
If you stop sharing, then we can look at everybody, and everybody, you can put your hands up if you can, or you can put it in chat, and we can call you. And apologies for me and my technical difficulties to everyone.
It sounds a lot better now.
I'm on my laptop, and who knows. So anyone have any questions? I can start it off.
Okay.
If no one has any questions, I have a question.
Sure.
Often students take electives. They're receiving TAP, and then they take electives. Do I assume that the electives are going to be covered with TAP, or is there ever an issue about that?
Yes, that can cause issues. So what happens here is that when it comes to TAP, when it's your first 2 years, your freshman and your sophomore, most of the time you don't have your major declared. So TAP really just has the main thing that's for TAP purposes is that you maintain a 2.0 GPA. You're a full-time student. You earn if you're attending for 12 credits, earn those 12 credits each semester, and then you can receive TAP as long as you've been approved. Once you hit those 60 credits, though, you have to have your major declared. And so sometimes what happens is that courses that first off, number one, depends on your major. If your major doesn't have elective allotment, then that can cause some issues in terms of you always want to look over your degree bulletin. There are certain majors that there are so many courses that are required for the degree, there are no elective allotments. Therefore, taking electives is, while it's done to bring yourself to being a full-time student, it's not actually going towards your degree bulletin. Therefore, if you're taking 6 credits going towards your major, but you have 6 credits in electives, but you have no elective allotment, either you have used up all of your electives. Sometimes this occurs in your freshman or sophomore year. Once you declare your major, a good chunk of the courses, possibly some of the courses that you're taking, may go right into electives, and they may fill up that elective allotment very quickly. You may only have like 3 or 6 credits remaining afterwards. So electives are one of those things where that if you're going to take electives if you know what your major is going to be your freshman and your sophomore year, it doesn't mean you need to declare your major, but you can always go speak with that department, kind of get an idea of what the degree bulletin is, and maybe you can kind of get a head start rolling on what those courses are required, or, again, try and fulfill in regards to the courses that are a part of your degree bulletin pathways. So yes, junior and senior years, we tend to see these elective problems do occur because, again, it all depends on if you have room for electives for TAP purposes. If you don't, then we usually would have to, if you have electives and you're enrolled in for it, we can't give you TAP because, again, you're not fulfilling taking 12 credits going towards your degree bulletin. And that's probably a little, it's a finicky question, but I hope that is a sufficient answer that I can provide.
Do they ever do a retroactive, like could they go back and reassess, say you took a lot of electives when you were a sophomore, does TAP ever assess that?
TAP is never going to assess it. It would be something that would have to be done within the school. You can speak to like the degrees department and academics if something is needed to be done to make some changes to the degree bulletin for that student. That would be between the student, academics, and that degrees department. I can't say that it would happen if it would be a guarantee of going back to be eligible for the award, because it really depends on the situation. It really truly does. But if I haven't seen it, like I've seen some cases where a course may be put into the degree bulletin saying that it is needed for your major because it may work as like a substitute. It's not on your degree bulletin, but maybe it's the same course but under a different name. I've seen that occur before. But in terms of like if you had 12 credits that were going into electives, if they can't fit anywhere else, that they go into electives. Or if you don't have elective allotment, they go into a place called electives not allowed, and they don't really assist with you being able to like graduate. You may actually graduate with more than 120 credits because you may have taken courses that were not applicable towards your what is needed to graduate.
So Amber has a question about TAP or FAFSA. Do they cover summer or winter intersession?
So we'll talk about winter first. So winter is a 3-week session at Brooklyn College. It's something that's offered from the school. It's not a normal thing that's done across like most schools. It does occur. There are schools that do something along these lines as well, but it's not an actual semester. Therefore, there is no financial aid or state awards that are specific for that 3-week winter session. It doesn't mean you can't receive awards because winter gets billed with spring. Therefore, if you're in the spring semester, if you are receiving Pell and TAP and it covers your spring balance and there's enough to also cover what you took in the winter, then you're fine. But if you don't, let's say, you're a full-time student in the spring, $3,719.85 is your balance. And then in the winter, you've got a balance of roughly about like $1,200. But your financial aid awards only come out to about $3,800. You still have a remaining balance for the winter that would have to be cared for by either paying out of pocket or looking into like a federal loan to help to assist. Summer is a different story. Summer, there is Pell for the summer. There's also loans for the summer. Loans, you have to be enrolled for at least 6 credits in any semester if you're planning on trying to take out a federal loan. Private loans, you can be enrolled for 3 credits depending on the private loan if they allow that, but federal loans require at least 6 credits for purposes of requesting and receiving a federal loan. You need your FAFSA, enrolled for 6 credits. Pell, you can receive Pell in the summer, depending again, as long as you are not meeting your lifetime eligibility usage. And then depending on your enrollment, taking 3 credits, 6 credits, 9 credits, 12 credits, your Pell Award will reflect based off of that enrollment status. But Pell by itself does not cover the tuition in full. So if you're receiving only Pell in the summer, you're going to have a remaining balance. If you're only receiving Pell, you're probably looking at a remaining balance of at least probably about like $400 to $500. It could be more depending on how many credits you're taking. Taking 11 credits, the balance might be a little bit more. TAP is when you apply for TAP, you can indicate summer. How summer works, though, it's kind of one of those things where, unfortunately, this is kind of how the state does it, where that you need to be enrolled for, if you get approved for summer, TAP in the summer, you need to be enrolled for at least 6 credits. It's the only time where it's a half-time award. It's not, you don't have to be full-time. You need to be enrolled for at least 6 credits. Those 6 credits need to be going towards a degree bulletin, but that TAP award is not going to pay out and show up on your account until 1 year later. It is a state thing. This is how they do summer. So even if you're going to take courses in the summer and you're approved for TAP, unfortunately, how it usually is that you have to pay your summer balance first for the summer, and then in a year, when the TAP award is processed and it does show up on your account, you would be reimbursed. But unfortunately, it does not show up during that same semester. It's the only semester that occurs for, unfortunately, and that's because summer and TAP, like it's a newer process, so that's just the way that they kind of do it, unfortunately. I do see a question about work study.
Mm-hmm.
So work study, how it works is on your FAFSA, you indicate if you are interested in work study or not. So if you're interested, you answer yes. If you are eligible for the award, you'll see it on your account as an offer. You can go ahead and you can accept the award, but what we usually say is you want to reach out to the Federal Work Study Department. They are available right now via email. I'll put their email in the chat right now. So if you have questions, if you want to know if you have work study, this is how you're going to contact them. I'm not wearing my glasses to avoid my ring light getting in my glasses, so hopefully I spelled that right. But that is their email. So if you have questions about work study, I would recommend going ahead and reaching out to them. It also, like I said earlier, when you do your FAFSA, that's why we recommend to have it done early, because work study, there's a bucket of money. That's the best way to kind of describe it. There's a bucket of money. So we'll say, look at my camera, the bucket is here. And so by May 1st, this is where your bucket is. If the FAFSAs are already here by May 1st, and then you're applying in September, you're up here. There's no more money that's left. So you may not be eligible for federal work study. So it's why we say to recommend to do your FAFSA early, indicate that you're interested in it. And if you're eligible, you may start to see the award reflecting on your account. And then of course, federal work study will reach out to you. Usually start reaching out to students around this time frame about job placement. With COVID-19 and all of us working remote, things that have been a little bit strange with work study. So that's why I usually just recommend that if you do have further questions, I would send an email to them. Again, 3 business days for a response. And of course, I would say if you haven't done your FAFSA yet, you can still reach out to them, but I wouldn't recommend doing it until after your FAFSA has been done to see if there are funds that are available. Does Excelsior cover if TAP is exhausted? Yes. So if you're eligible for Excelsior and you're within, like I said, it's a 4-year program. So you're starting and you're finishing within 4 years. Taking a break is going to result in you not being eligible for Excelsior. So it's kind of one of those things where TAP is a 4-year program. So it's kind of difficult for TAP to be exhausted and then and then having Excelsior in there, because again, it's for your first time as a college student. So if you're coming in as a freshman, you shouldn't have used any of your TAP awards. And TAP is a 4-year program. So the answer to that question, essentially, it would be yes, but I don't think it actually is possible, because again, TAP and Excelsior, you should be starting at the exact same time. So there should be no exhaustion in it. And it is TAP is a 4-year program. Excelsior is strictly a 4-year program. You can receive TAP up to 4 years of the award, but if it takes you 5 or 6 years and maybe you didn't receive TAP in one semester, you can receive TAP longer than 4 years, but it's essentially 4 years of awards, while Excelsior is a 4-year program. You have to be starting and graduating within 4 years. Therefore, if you're coming in now, it's your first semester, your TAP should be at 0. There should be no exhaustion on the TAP. If you were denied Excelsior due to not needing the financial aid, can I apply now when I do need it? Or because I was denied before, I can't reapply for it? I'm not entirely too sure what the question here about being denied due to not needing the financial aid. Because if you were, are you saying you got this might require a follow-up, or were you approved and then you declined the award? Because I can't imagine if you were awarded that they would then decline it because you got financial aid. If you were awarded the award and you were approved and maybe you've never received it, you're usually still on the list to be eligible for the award. It does, they review, you don't have to reapply if you've been approved. That information is followed up each and every single academic year, but it does, if you were approved, let's say 2 years ago, and then you're not at 60 credits as of right now, maybe you're only at 45, then you're not going to be eligible for Excelsior because you're not following it as a 4-year program. You may need an additional semester or two to catch up to where you do need to be. But if you were denied the award, you can look into reapplying, but most likely I can't say that it would be approved again, but of course you can look into applying for it. It may not allow you to apply if you've already applied once and it was declined. Unfortunately, I don't have like a concrete answer about that. But I would say that you can always try to apply for the award. If you have further questions, you can reach out to a HESC representative. You can use our website. They do have contact to set up an appointment for a HESC representative to speak to you. There's also Excelsior emails and inquiries that you can make with them as well. Can TAP cover me one more semester after already exceeding the 8 semesters? Hope that makes sense. Okay, so you're saying that you have already attended for 8 semesters. You've received TAP for all 8 of those semesters, and you're wondering if you can receive TAP again. So TAP is a 4-year program. 8 semesters means that that's 4 years. So you have fulfilled your TAP eligibility, so there wouldn't be any additional TAP awards. Now, there are 2 things that Brooklyn does have for TAP purposes. One of them is that there are 5-year programs. One of them is if you're a SEEK student, then essentially you are in a 5-year program, and you can receive TAP for a total of 5 academic years, 10 semesters. That's receiving the award. That doesn't mean if you've attended for 10 semesters, if you didn't receive TAP for all those semesters, there's still eligibility. The only 5-year first BA program that we have here at Brooklyn College is Public Accounting, Business Management, Finance. I call it the peanut butter and jelly degree, but it's PABMF. And so what happens is that if you have already received for your 4 years and you've done your TAP application, you are going to need to reach out to someone here in the office, reach out to your financial advisor, jump on the virtual Zoom, and we would have to go in and manually update your TAP application, indicate that you're in a 5-year program. Again, that is only for students enrolled in the PABMF degree program and if you're a SEEK student. So if you're taking a degree, let's say it's bio and it's taking longer than 4 years, it doesn't mean that it's a 5-year program. It's a 4-year program that you're just taking a little bit longer to do. If I take a gap semester, how much money would I likely lose from TAP FAFSA or like a merit grant, etc.? If you don't attend, you don't lose financial aid. It's not like there is a financial aid award for that semester, and if you don't use it, you lose it, and it counts as towards your eligibility usage. If you don't attend and you don't receive an award, it doesn't count towards that eligibility usage. Now, if you're doing like a scholarship that does require continuous enrollment, or such as Excelsior, then yes, you can lose the award, but that would be something you need to speak with the scholarships office about. If it's something that's not financial aid based, you need to speak with the scholarship office to make sure that your scholarship is something that is a maintaining of enrollment. If there are appeals or if there are special circumstances, speak with the scholarships office. Excelsior, it's one of those things, usually if you're taking a break, you're going to lose it. But if there is a special circumstance, you can reach out to HESC to see about doing an appeal process. The state is very strict about a lot of things when it comes to TAP and Excelsior. You need to speak with them directly. I can't make any promises if it's going to be approved or not. Next question. If you have Excelsior Scholarship, can you declare a minor as well? I was told you only have one major, can't double major and minor. Okay, so this we got two questions for this, the same question basically. What happens that most of the time how TAP looks at it is that it is paying for one degree, therefore one major. If you do decide to double major or you decide to have a minor, how it works is that you need to fulfill your courses required into your pathways and your major first, your primary major. So if you're going to declare a double major, you need to speak with academics to find out which one is your primary major. And what happens is that you need to, when you're taking courses, you need to concentrate essentially one major at a time, therefore pathways and that primary major first. If you have fulfilled the primary major's requirements and there's nothing else to do, pathways is also complete. All that's left is your other major. Then you can start dipping into the second major or dipping into the minor at that point. And then you can still receive TAP. But if let's say you have a major and a minor and you're taking 9 credits towards your major, and then you have 3 credits going towards your minor, you run the risk of not being eligible for TAP because your minor it's not a part of your major. And if you still have courses that are needed in your pathways or courses still in your major, you run the risk of not receiving TAP. The same thing goes if you're a double major as well. I currently receive no financial aid. How will that change, if at all, when my younger brother attends college? So I can't tell you in terms of what kind of change it is. I don't looking up in terms of your specific account. What I can say is that on the FAFSA, there's an indication of how many people are in the household and how many people are attending college at least a half-time status. So let's say your household right now is 4 people in the household, mom, dad, you. I'm looking at nuclear family if things are different, but if it's mom, dad, you, plus your little brother, and right now your little brother's not attending college. So in that case, it's 4 people in the household, 1 person attending college. But then next year, your brother is attending college. He's enrolled. He's going to be enrolled for 6 credits. Therefore, now your household is 2 people going to college. That usually does see a decrease in the EFC, the expected family contribution. In terms of if that's going to make you eligible for, you're most likely asking about the free money, the grants, the federal Pell Grant, or even TAP. I can't tell you if it's going to make you eligible for those awards because there are other factors that also still dictate in terms of financial aid eligibility. It's not just household and how many people are in college. It's the income that's in the household, assets, investments, those kind of things. They do play a role. So, again, these are all hypotheticals. If the income in the household is roughly like $200,000, it may be that you're not going to be receiving the federal Pell Grant. Again, could be different. Things change obviously in terms of the income, but I can't say if it's going to give you federal aid, but it will lower your EFC. So maybe at once you may have not have been eligible to request subsidized loans, but now maybe you can request subsidized loans, but it still may not have allowed you to be eligible for a federal Pell Grant. Or maybe it does, but it's only maybe about a $400 grant for each semester being a full-time student. I mean, free money is free money. I look at it that, if you're eligible for something, obviously do take it. Are there any other questions?
Anybody else? This is a great opportunity. You don't have to call in. You got a live person right here.
And, piggybacking off, and I'm here, I'm doing general. So it is one of those things where if you have something and you want someone to specifically look into your FAFSA, I wouldn't be doing that now because there are a total of 25 of us here. And so we're not going to look at one person's record while everyone's listening in. So that's why we do have the virtual Zoom office and the financial aid appointments available. So if you have questions that are specific to you, I would utilize those tools.
And it's really important if you want to be a work-study student and you're eligible for TAP, that you mark that you are interested in becoming a federal work-study student and accept the award if it's awarded to you, especially if you're connected with the Women's Center or want to be connected with the Women's Center, because this coming year, that's where the squad is going to come from. So we are looking forward to working with you if you're eligible for TAP as well. I want to thank everyone for coming. I'm sorry again that I had some kind of technical difficulties. Thank you for representing financial aid and clearing up some things. One more question from Maria before we go.
So about eligibility for work study. So TAP doesn't dictate about your eligibility for work study. So a thing about work study that I did forget to mention is that work study is not something that's used to pay for tuition. Work study is essentially it's like you're working for someone on the campus or a department on the campus, and you have a wage that is non-tax. So let's say work study funds are, and forgive me, I may be wrong, it may be a little bit more, but it's I know for at one point it was about $10 an hour. And therefore, if you work 20 hours, $200. That's how much you were paid. There were no taxes paid. So you don't have to worry about that, that moment when you got your first job and you're being told you're being paid $15 an hour, and then you get your paycheck and you're like, this doesn't add up correctly because they're taking money off for Social Security, taxes, Medicaid, all that kind of stuff. That's not going to happen with work study. But what work study is that you can't receive or start your work study program until your tuition is covered in full. So the question in terms of about eligible for work study, if you haven't received TAP, if you're only receiving Pell and there is still a remaining balance, even if work study is on your account, they can't begin the process for you to start working or doing anything because you still have a remaining balance. Work study is not paid towards for tuition. If you end up paying something out of pocket to, cover that balance so that you can start work study, you can use work study to reimburse yourself. But work study does not, the federal award that is work study does not come and go towards tuition. It comes to you as the student. If you are approved for it, that's how it works. So if you are not eligible for TAP, or you've already fulfilled the TAP eligibility for the award, if you're eligible for work study, you can still receive it. TAP doesn't really dictate in terms of your eligibility for the award. It's just, like I said, they won't process and begin your awarding for federal work study if you still have a balance on your account. What if you accepted your aid, but it wasn't updated on CUNY first? So this is one of those questions where if you're seeing an estimated TAP award on your account, an estimated TAP award is it's not going to reflect as pending aid. It's an estimated of what you possibly can receive if you are eligible for the award. So if you haven't done your TAP application and you have an estimated TAP award, it's never going to populate onto your account. And so estimated is just there to kind of indicate what you possibly can receive if you're eligible for the award. It's not going to reflect in pending aid. Accepting it is not going to make it appear as pending aid. So that's kind of the question I think that's you're referring to. The other thing could be the federal Pell Grant. Pell doesn't really require you to accept the award. If you're eligible for Pell based off your enrollment, that Pell award is going to populate and it's going to show up as pending aid. It may take about a day or two. Like if you enroll for full-time today, it's probably going to be until possibly tomorrow, if not Friday, you'll see the Pell award actually show up as pending aid, as long as everything is fulfilled in regards to your to-do list, things along those lines. Loans, you can accept the loan offer as well, but if you're requesting it, you have to request loans for the loan to be offered to you. So essentially, once you request it, we process it as offer and accepted. But if it's your first time borrowing loans, you do need to complete the entrance counseling and the master promissory note, which is located on the studentaid.gov website. If you don't complete that, the loan is never going to appear in pending aid. It's never going to disperse to the school. Last thing, federal work study, it may be, you can accept the award, but it may not be showing up yet because again, you want to reach out to the federal work study department because there may be some sort of issue, or maybe you haven't begun the process to start working. So accepting it may not be an option as of yet. So I hope I answered the question in regards to that. I hope that kind of covered it. Again, the only TAP award that's going to show up in your pending aid is if it says initial TAP or if it just says TAP fall, TAP spring. And then of course, right now, if you're trying to accept the award for Pell for the upcoming spring semester, it's not going to populate because there's no enrollment. There won't be any enrollment for spring until probably mid-October. Obviously, the registrar's office will contact all students once enrollment is planning out to let you know what your enrollment date is going to be.
Well, thank you for all of that information. I encourage everyone, if you have questions, to reach out to the financial aid office because it's very complicated and you don't want to take information from anybody who, only the experts. That's what I'm going to say.
There's nothing wrong with talking to your friends about financial aid, but I do one of these things where I say, I don't think you want to compare and contrast. You don't know what everyone's situation is. So while you think maybe your friend has the exact same situation as you and you're wondering why they have aid and you don't, or maybe they start wondering why you have aid and they don't, it's very important if you have questions about that, come and speak to us directly. We're going to look at your account. We're going to let you know exactly why it is that, your question. So it is important that you can always, like I said, you can speak to people, you can use Google. But at the end of the day, if you want someone to specifically look at your account, come to us. We are available. Like I said, we're available on the Zoom 3 days out of the week. Right now, we're only open 4 days out of the week, so we're available 3 out of 4 days. And then, of course, we do have appointment availability as well. So like Nava said, it's important you would want to reach out to us if you have questions.
All right, everyone. Thank you all. Have a nice afternoon. And thank you so much for sharing all your technical information with us. So thanks again. Goodbye, everyone.